Hey everybody, this is Heather Sides. I'm an independent Stamp Up demonstrator in Spokane, Washington. Come to you live every Wednesday night with 3 new projects to share, give you ideas, creativity, and just to have a little fun with one another. If you are here, and whether you're watching live or you are watching a replay, make sure you participate in the conversation, because when you do, your name will go into a drawing for a prize I will award next week. I do this every week, and it's just to encourage everybody to have a little fun. So even if you don't feel chatty tonight, make sure you say hello, tell me where you're from. I'm going to close this out on my big screen because I want to get this. I was having some technical difficulties and had to restart the video. So, okay, it looks like I've got it up and running now. Hopefully everybody will get caught up and moved over to this new video here in just a moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera around, show you a few things I've got going on this week. One thing I mentioned a minute ago before my live got interrupted by technical difficulties is this week I'm focusing on the new in colors. I know most of you have probably already seen them, but I think sometimes we see all the fun toys and accessories and things like that that demonstrators are using on their projects, and I love to use a lot of different stuff, so I'm guilty of that. But what happens is sometimes we start to think, oh my gosh, I have to have everything if I'm going to make good cards, and that is not the case. So tonight I'm keeping it simple. I don't have any of the new stamps, any of the new dies, nothing like that, but I'm going to focus on the new in colors and some designer series paper in the in colors, and show you 3 separate cards using just those limited products. And then it'll hopefully inspire a little creativity in that realm and remind you sometimes it's good to go back to the basics. So, oh good, John and Judy are back. Yeah, I'm glad that it seems to be working again now. Okay, Kathy's here. Welcome, Kathy. Okay, so let's turn the camera around. We're gonna show off a few things real quick, and then we're gonna get going on our cards. So hang on just a second. This is about as far as I got last time when my computer went wonky, so bear with me. I think we're good so far though. Okay, so you know, the last few weeks I've been telling you guys that I lost my catalog, and I finally got new catalogs, and I'm so glad. And as you can see, I've already marked it with all the stamps and different products that I feel like I have to have. There's quite a few little tags in there, and I'm sure I will never actually get every one of those tags pulled off because I pull them off when I get the item, but it is kind of fun to daydream. If you don't have a demonstrator that you're currently working with and you would like a copy of the catalog, just let me know. Send me an email at stamphappenings@gmail.com or a private message here on Facebook, and just let me know, and I would be happy to send one your way. I'm going to move my camera here a little bit more. Let's see. Things are just going haywire tonight, aren't they? Okay, so anyway, so I just wanted to share with you that I finally got my catalogs, and I had a very good time marking it up with all the things that I must have. Okay, a reminder that during the month of May, we have this awesome starter kit special. Looks better in color than it does in black and white, but I have a black and white printer. Anyway, when you start in May, let me back up a little bit. When you start anytime, our starter kit costs, gosh, I'm having a hard time with English already. Our starter kit costs $99, and you get to choose $125 worth of products of your choice. So if you're a beginning stamper and you need to get the basics, you can choose those things. If you are, you've been someone who's been stamping for a while, hey Kathy, if you've been stamping for a while, you can choose some of the more fun embellishments or tools or things that you don't already have. So I love the flexibility of our kit. So you pay $99, you get to pick $125 worth of stuff. Plus you get a $25 paper pumpkin kit. You get free shipping on the kit. You get a discount on future purchases, all sorts of good stuff. Well, with this month's special, you also get an assortment of the new in color products. You get all 5 of the ink pads, the 5 colors. I'm going to show those in a minute. You're going to get a pack of cardstock with all 5 of the colors. You're going to get all 5 of the Stampin' Write markers in the in colors as well. And then finally, in the in color designer series paper pack. our design. Now, just to remind you, we do sell designer series paper for all of our color families that are different than our designer series paper that coordinates with stamp sets and such. This is one that is the color family, which means each color family has the same prints, but the colors of the paper coordinate with the colors of the cardstock, the ink, those kind of things. So it's an $82 value that you get on top of the $125 worth of products that you picked, on top of the shipping, on top of the free paper pumpkin kit, on top of your future discount, all that good stuff. So you're getting over $225 worth of stuff for $99. It's a fantastic deal. If you have some questions about that, you want to know more, feel free to email me or send me a message here. You can also go to my website, heathersides.stampinup.net, where you can get a little more information. You can also sign up there. So just let me know. Oh, good. Now I'm glad that you found us again. Yeah, my internet is being really kind of wonky tonight. So I apologize. I had to come back in and start over. So anyway, this is the designer series paper called Unbounded Beauty. And it coordinates with the In Color inks. Now, it is not the color family one that I was showing you comes with the kit. This is one that coordinates with stamps and all that good stuff. But I want to show it to you because it's just gorgeous paper. Let's see. I'm just thumbing through it pretty quickly so you can see the various prints. That's the back side of that. Got this one. The back side is that. What I should do is do it like this and say, these are the two sides of this one. Oh, I lied. These are the two sides of this one. And then this is the two sides of this one. As you can see, I've already used some of it, but I think it's gorgeous paper. They're gorgeous colors. I really like them. Hey, Mary, welcome. I think it's beautiful. I personally really like these colors. Whoops, as I bang on that. I don't think it's necessarily going to be for everyone because they are, in my opinion, a little bit more feminine colors. But I love them. I think they're gorgeous and I'm excited to play with them. So let me show you what the ink pad colors look like. We have Shy Shamrock, Summer Splash. Summer Splash reminds me a lot of our Cabana. What's the Coastal Cabana? I think it's just like slightly lighter than that, but I haven't had a chance to play and compare the two yet. Then we also have Petunia Pop. We have Pretty in Pink. I'm really excited because we're finally getting a nice, true light pink color. We've been asking for that for a really long time. And the funny thing is, when I was a demonstrator, gosh, now it's been about 20 years ago, we had this color back then, and they have brought it back now with these in colors, and I love it, and I'm so happy. And then the final one is Peach Pie. So you can see they're very kind of Eastery colors, actually, but I love them, and I'm so excited to play with them. And then another color that was new. This isn't an in color, but I did want to share it with you, and I am playing with it a little bit tonight. This is called Basic Beige. They've added it to our neutral colors. Currently with neutral, we've got vanilla, we've got very vanilla, basic white, basic black, and now we have basic beige. And like I said, I'm going to play with it a little bit tonight, so you'll get to see it if you haven't seen it already. Well, even if you have seen it already, you're going to get to see it tonight. Before we get going, I also want to share our winner from last week's drawing. This week is Kathy Zaramba, and I know she's here. I saw her name scroll by earlier and said hello. So Kathy, I don't have your mailing address, so make sure you send that to me, and I would be happy to pop this in the mail. Now, I have the winners from the last couple weeks that I want to tell you I've been very remiss about getting those out in the mail. Just issues. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I apologize that they're so late in coming to you, but you should be getting them in the next week. So again, I apologize. Let's go ahead and move on to our cards that we have this week. So this first card, I'm using the Translucent Florals stamp set and the Stylish Shapes dies. I kept the cards very simple because I was trying to really focus on keeping things simple with limited products, but still being able to create fun and pretty cards. So this first card I've got uses the Unbounded Designer Series paper. It uses the Stylish Shapes dies and the translucent floral stamp set. I'm sorry about that. And that's what we've got. There's the inside of the card. So let's go ahead and get started. The color here of the base color of the card, this is our Petunia Pop. This pink here is the Pretty in Pink that I was just talking about a minute ago. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we'll do is decorate our envelope. You guys know I have to decorate the envelopes. If I don't, I just feel out of sorts. It's like going out without my shirt on. Okay, I'm going to put my glasses on to make sure I only put glue on the part of the envelope where I want it. So I'm using the liquid glue for this. I like the liquid glue to do this because I can get right up there to the edges, which is a little hard to do with some of our other adhesives that we carry, but also because it takes a little while for it to get tacky. So if I have to scoot the paper around a little bit to get it on there to fit right, it affords me a little bit of time to do that. So I put glue all the way around the edge. Try not to put too much or too thick because then it just squishes out everywhere. And then I take a strip. It's 6 inches by 2.5 inches, and check and see if your paper has a directional pattern. I don't know that this really does, but you want to make sure that if your paper has a directional pattern, that you put it on right side up on your envelope flap so that it's not upside down. Kathy said it perfect. Kathy said that she has to decorate the envelope and the inside of the card. It doesn't feel complete otherwise. And I think that is the perfect way to say it, Kathy. I feel the same way. And I think it's kind of fun when you get something in the mail that's just a little different than your standard plain envelope. It just, I don't know, it makes me smile. So I like to send them out that way. Okay, so now I'm just going to trim around the edges here. So really quick there. And there you go. And if you accidentally cut your envelope a little bit, it's not a big deal. I like to look and see if I left like a really jagged edge somewhere where maybe I cut the envelope so that I can even it out a little if I need to, but it's not really that big of a deal. So our envelope is done. I have to open the door to let the dog out. Hang on. Come on, Lucy. And you guys all know what's going to happen next. She's going to run behind me back and forth several times with her collection of rocks because she knows this is when she gets away with it. Okay, so our card base is a standard card base. It's a half of a sheet of cardstock, 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, scored in the middle right there at 4 1/4. So I go ahead and I fold it in half, and even though it is scored, which does make it fold a lot easier, I still like to take my bone folder along the edge there just to get a nice sharp, or not sharp, but crisp edge. Now I have 2 pieces of basic white that are both 4 by 5 1/4, so it doesn't matter which one I use here. And we're going to do the inside of the card. I have a strip here of the Pretty in Pink that is a 1/2 inch by about 6 inches. I always try to make them a little bit extra too long. I don't even know if that was good grammar right there. Anyway, because then I know it's long enough. I hate it when it's just a little tiny bit too short. That drives me crazy. So I'd rather it be a little bit too long and be able to trim it. So I'm going to take my Pretty in Pink and I'm going to do a line of glue right there, all the way to almost to the end. I know that I'm not going to need it to go all the way to the end, so I'm not too worried about it right there. And then I just stick this on there. Now this is where I say using that liquid glue, see how I can kind of shift my Designer Series paper around a little bit to make sure that it's centered and straight. That's why I like the liquid glue for something like this. And there is a dog hair in there. Oh my gosh. Golden Retrievers tend to shed all year long anyway, but it's really bad right now, and I swear everything in my world has dog hair in it. Drives me nuts. So okay, so anyway, now I'm going to take just a little bit of glue and I'm going to make a line down the side of my basic white. The nice thing is it doesn't even matter if it's a perfectly straight line because I can't do perfectly straight. You guys know my motto about perfection. We do not aim for perfection. Anybody here remember what we aim for? We don't aim for perfection. We aim for, I'll give you guys a minute for someone to come up with it. You guys know I've been saying it long enough. Someone should be able to come back with it. Okay, there we go. See how I just trimmed off that little extra bit? It's a tiny little bit extra. It doesn't bother me. Perfect, Nell. You did it. And John. John and Nell both did it. We don't aim for perfection. We aim for ish. So I wasn't aiming for perfectly straight. I was aiming for straight-ish. Good job, you guys. You know, after 20 some years of raising kids, it's nice to know someone somewhere listens to me. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and take my Seal Plus here to glue this down. We do carry 2 different types of this type of adhesive that comes in the dispenser. It's called Seal. We have Seal and Seal Plus. I personally prefer the Seal Plus. It's a little bit stronger adhesive. It is a little bit more expensive. To me, it's worth it just because then I know I've always got a nice strong adhesive that I'm using. So we just glue that to the inside, and now the inside of the card is done. Okay, now let's work on the front. This card comes together pretty quick because there's not a whole lot of stamping. In fact, there's not a lot of stamping in any of the cards tonight. Okay, so I have this little square. I used the Stylish Shape Square for this. I'm going to use this stamp of the little, I don't know, it reminds me of a weed, to tell you the truth, but that doesn't sound very pretty, does it? And then wishing you all the happiness in the world. So I'm going to take my Shy Shamrock. I'm also going to take my Petunia Pop, and let's get going here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp off with this. Stamping off is where I ink up the stamp, I stamp it on my scrap paper, and then I stamp it. I'm doing it at an angle on my cardstock. And the reason I stamped it over here first is it got some of the ink off. So as you compare these two, you can see the second one is quite a bit lighter. I like to do that if I'm using it in the background of something like we're about to do, because then I still have the color, I still have the image, but it's not quite so bold, so it's not competing with what I'm about to stamp over it. Okay, so close the ink pad. I'm wearing a white t-shirt, and so I know that I am not safe from open ink pads. Okay, so ink up my stamp here. And now I'm going to stamp this one straight on, just down and up, and there we go. It's really important when you have stamps like this that have the really fine print like that, make sure you don't rock your stamp at all. Do straight down and straight up as best as you can, because if you don't, it kind of gives a little bit of a halo around the words. Sometimes they smudge altogether. They're just not as clear, so it's really important to be careful of that when you have really fine prints like that. Okay, so now we have all our pieces. Let's put them all together. So I have this piece of the Designer Series paper. And again, I don't think this has a real direction, so it's just a matter of balance-wise, what do I like better? And I think maybe I like it better like that. Okay, so now I'm going to just go ahead and glue this piece of Designer Series paper onto the Petunia Pop. These pieces are both 5 1/4 inches long. The Designer Series paper is 2, and the Petunia Pop is 2 1/4 inches wide. So we've got that piece. Let's go ahead and we'll glue that now down onto the piece of basic white that when we're all done, we'll just stick it down on our card front. And so I'm just kind of putting it off to the side, no particular distance from the edge, just not in the middle. And I didn't have it quite all the way to the edge there. So I just slowly peel it off to get it off there. I think doing it slowly is a key when you have to undo something you've already laid down, because you have less likelihood of it tearing your paper. So let's see here. Make sure it looks straightish, and it does. Okay, now I have this piece that is the Pretty in Pink. And this piece is 1.5 inches wide, and we're just going to glue it down right there. Nothing super fancy, but it's 1.5 inches by 4 inches. And let's see, we'll stick it right about there, I think. Again, just trying to do what I can to make sure it's straight. Sometimes laying it on its side so that oh, see, that didn't even get it straight. I was going to be all smart and lay it on its side so that I had the flat surface, and it was still crooked. So, okay. And then I have this piece right here. We're going to put some dimensionals behind that just to pop it up a little bit. Okay. Yep, sure enough, she just came in with a rock. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on here, just up a little bit. Again, I'm not being too picky about distances. I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want it. Hear that little crash? Sounds like my dog is playing hockey in the house. Yeah, that's her rock. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this down, and then we'll put a few embellishments on there, and it's done already. Wasn't that fast? Okay, so I'm going to try to center this on here. It's going to be centered-ish. Oh my goodness, she just took the rock back outside. Either that or she went out to get another one, and she's, you know, building a rock wall in here, which is highly possible as well. So let's put a few of these. They're the flat adhesive backed pearls. You know, it's funny, I've had these for a while and I haven't used them because I don't know what it is. The fact that they aren't perfectly round and they're just kind of, you know, they're like pebbles where they're all different shapes. I don't know. I have a hard time with that. I struggle with it. So I'm going to use a few of the big ones. And just kind of randomly place them about like that. And then I thought I'd fill in the space just a little bit more with a couple small ones. There. I don't like that one there. Yeah, well, I have to fix it just a little. Okay, good enough. So that was our first card, you guys. Quick and easy, right? All right, let's clean up a little bit here so we can get going on the next one. Thanks, Martha. Okay. Got our pieces all put together here. Set the cards off to the side. And our next card, I am in love with this next card. It is so super simple, you guys, and I love it. Now, I will say I did use a retired product here, the Countryside Blossoms, because I don't have any of the new embossing folders. I only have one embossing folder now that they've retired so much. And it wasn't the one I wanted to use for something like this. So I did use a retired one, but just remember, you can use any one that has, I recommend one with a little bit busier pattern like this, okay? And I'll show you what we're making. See, I even embossed the piece that goes on the envelope for this one. And this is the card. You can see I kind of boogered it up a little bit, stamping my message on the bottom. But at that point, I said, I'm just going to leave it and do it right for you guys. And this ribbon is also new. This is in the basic beige color. And I really like it because it's got this stitching along the edge. It just gives it a little bit more finished look, in my opinion. I really like it. And there's the inside. And I'm going to show you a trick about how I got that strip. So let's go ahead and get started. You can hear the dog fighting with her rock. Okay, so this color, this one is the, what's it called? Summer Splash, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. You guys know what to do with that. We fold it in half, and then we take the bone folder. Thanks, Marcia. This one incorporates all of the new in colors on one card. So I'm going to set that aside for the moment. And we're going to do a little bit of embossing with the embossing folder. So let me get my machine really quick here. Gosh, the dust in my house right now is so bad. I'm embarrassed. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my embossing folder. And I'm taking this piece, it's 2.5 inches by 6. That's the size that I always use on my envelopes. But considering what I'm going to also use this for, which you'll know in a minute, it might not have been a terrible idea to make it a little wider than the 2.5 inches, but the 2.5 inches will work. So put it in here. Let's see here. Get all my plates right for the embossing. And then just feed it through the machine. We have 2 of these machines, a small one and a big one. This is the big one. They look the same except for size. And when you're done with them, you can fold up these little pieces right here that stick out. They fold up just like this, so they don't take up as much room in storage or on your desk or wherever you keep them. Okay, so this is going to be our envelope flap. See, isn't that beautiful? I love it. I wish we still had this embossing folder because I think it's a really pretty one. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I want these to line up pretty well. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on here. Okay, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'll have to put it on the paper. But I do know I want these in a specific order. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back just so that they stay in place once I set them down, because I want them, one of these is not the right length. Let's see which one it is. Looks like it's this one. Okay, it should be, I did it 4 1/4. It should be 4 1/2. So give me just a second so I can cut another strip really quick. Not quite sure how I did that. I'm not moving stuff out of the way because I'm sure you guys know how to measure and cut things. So let's see. Okay. How long did I say I want this? I want it to be 4 1/2. 4 1/2, Heather. And they're 3/4 of an inch wide. Every one of them is 3/4 of an inch wide and 4 1/2 inches long. Okay, crisis averted. Okay, so again, I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the strip just to make sure that it stays in place on the folder, because I want these to be butted right up next to one another. And I'm not using a ton of adhesive because I don't want to end up with a bunch stuck on my embossing folder. I want to be able to clean it off easily. And I really only need it to hold it in place, you know, that the pieces will be sandwiched together. It's not that big of a deal, but I want to hold it in place while I'm moving stuff around or moving the pieces around. Just because when I was doing my original one, they did move around a little bit and I had to go back and redo them and la, 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 la. Okay. So see how they're all lined up like that? Now I'm going to put it through. So all of the pieces are going to have a flow to them. They're all going to match up. They're going to look like they belonged together. Okay. Desk jiggles and jiggles. Okay, so we have that done. Oops. Move this stuff out of the way. Okay, now I have my little strips. They're going to come off separately, of course. Ooh, they don't really want to So maybe that adhesive wasn't the best idea. What I could have done, maybe should have done, was tape them together beforehand on the back, because I do tape them together before I glue them down on the card. But the next step that I do, I wanted to be able to do individually, which is why I didn't tape them all together before I ran them through the embossing machine. So let me put this away. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my paper snips. Now it's important at this point that you make sure that all of your pieces are facing the same direction. Wait a minute here. There we go. Because remember, you want everything to line up. See, like that curly cue starts on the summer splash and ends on the petunia pop. So you see what I'm saying about them going together? So you want to make sure that you've got them all going the right direction. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut just about maybe 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and I'm making little tails on like banners like that. Okay, I'm going to do that on all 5 of them. We used to have a punch that did this, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite punches, but they recently retired that, and I was very, very sad. Okay. I need to get better lighting in here. Okay. This one. Let's see what I'm doing. All I'm doing, by the way, oops, looks like that got a little bit. Hold on here. There we go. All I'm doing to cut this banner is I cut a little bit of a knot, just a little bit, like I said, about 3/8 of an inch maybe. And then I go from the corner to the end of the cut in the middle there. And it took me a long time to get brave enough to do that, because I always thought my ends won't be the same, they'll be wonky, but really it's pretty quick and simple. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip these over again so that they are still all facing the same direction, though it's easier to tell now with the tips like that. And I'm going to take a little bit of tear and tape. Let's see, about that wide, I think. Might be a little wider than what I need, but that's okay. And I'm going to start piecing these together. And I want them to stay together, lined up. For me, let me tell you why I'm doing this. When I put them on my card, I could put them on the card piece one at a time. But then I find that with me, I end up where one side is closer to the edge than the other side, and it's just not straight, and I don't like it as well. So if I just do something like this, where I tape them together on the back, no one's going to see it, but then I know that it's straight, and then I'm just laying down one piece that I'm lining up on the card, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay. There we go. See, so now it's going to be one piece that I'm laying down and trying to center versus trying to guess how close I want to be on the edge. I'm not necessarily a good judge of distance for things like that, so this works really well for me. Now, also, for gluing this down, I did find that when I tried to use my snail, I think it was because of this textured edge, the snail wasn't going down really well, and it was catching, and it was tearing the paper a little bit. So I decided the best course of action was just going to be to glue it down with my tear and tape. So that's what I used for this. And maybe it's a little excessive in the amount of tape I used, but I just wanted everything to lay together nice and flat where it should. So, okay. Now, when you use tear and tape, you want to take your bone folder, you want to find your bone folder and go over it like this, just to make sure it's really pressed into the paper well, so that the release tape on the back comes off really easily. But you do want to be cautious when you're doing it on an embossed surface, because if you do it too hard, you'll flatten that image back out, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the dry embossing. So now I'm going to take your pick tool, my favorite tool of all the tools. If you only get one, this is the one I would get because I use it for so many different things. Oops, that little piece of adhesive came up, not a big deal, just lay it back down. And I'm not going to bother taking the release tape off of the piece that I used to hold it all together. I think it just helps hold it all together while I'm moving it around as well. Just gives it a little bit, makes it a little more solid, I guess. And for this, I'm going to take a piece of the basic beige. I really do like this color. I think they did a nice job with it. And this piece is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to line this up so that the 3 edges, the top, the left, and the right, are right about the same, so that they are the same-ish. And then I've got this blank, I've got a little bit longer space at the bottom there. And what we're going to do there is we're going to take this stamp that says "You're the Best." We're going to take the Summer Splash ink, and we're just going to stamp this on the bottom like this. Just like that. A little bit crooked, but that's okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this ribbon that is in the basic beige, and we're going to tie a little bow around it. Don't worry about, when you're tying your bow, don't worry about placement of the bow itself, because you can still move the ribbon around a little bit once you get your bow tied. Now when I tie my bow, see how the edges are coming up a little bit on the paper because it's too tight? I always start that way because it loosens a little bit as you're tying the bow, because your finger comes off that center that's holding it tight. So if I start too tight, then it's usually perfect when I'm done. So now I play with my bow a little bit because I want to make sure that it's as straight as I can get it. And that it's not all twisted. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so make sure my loops are about the same size-ish. And now, when I said don't worry about placement, that's because you can still slide this up and down where you need it. You can slide it left to right, so if your bow was off center and you want it in the center, or if it was in the center and you wanted it to be kind of off, you can still move it around. That's not a big deal. Now let's go ahead and trim the tails here. What I like to do to make sure that my tails are about the same is I go like this, I hold them together. There we go. And for some reason, it always ends up with this one looking like it's a little bit longer than the other. So then I sit there and I fight with them, and make it look weird because now they're not at all the same length. You know how it is. We do this, right? Okay, so there we go. Now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to adhere this onto our card, but we're going to use the foam adhesive sheets. I love the foam adhesive sheets. They're like a dimensional, only the dimensionals are the tiny little octagons. 1, 2, 3. They're not octagons because there's not 8 sides, but I don't know what you call one with 6 sides. Anyway, I guess that's a discussion for another day, right? Anyway, they come like this. They're sheets that are about 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and they're great for putting down big pieces like this. Now, I could just trim this down and use most of that, but I do feel like that does end up wasting a lot of it. So let me show you what I do. First, I cut it in half. This is the other half of the one I used earlier. And then I cut that half in thirds. And when you're cutting pieces this big, it does seem like it's easier to do with just regular full-size scissors. The snips work great when you're using smaller pieces, but for these big ones, I always use my big scissors. And then what I do is I spread them out because they don't have to be completely solid behind here. You just don't want it to sag. So I put this third one right in the middle, and now my card, it's not going to sag. So we're going to put this on our card front here. We didn't do the inside yet. Okay, usually I do oh, we didn't do the envelope either. Wow, I'm totally doing this backwards, aren't I? Okay, so we're going to line this up, get it centered-ish. The foam adhesive is rather unforgiving, so be careful laying down your paper because it is hard to get it back up if you put it down wrong. Okay, so that's the front of the card. Like I said, we're doing this all backwards today. So now let's go ahead and do the envelope. Here's our strip that we ran through the embossing machine, right? And we're going to put it on just like I did with the designer series paper with the card prior to this. So I'm going to put my glue on there. Go all the way around the edge here. And again, get as close to the edge as you can, but you don't want to be too close because you don't want the glue to squish out off the edge. If it does, and you get some on your card, or I'm sorry, on your envelope where you don't want it, just use an adhesive eraser to get it right off. You can buy one for a couple bucks on Amazon. So now I'm just going to stick this down, just like I do with the designer series paper. And now I'm going to really rub it well, though, from this side, because with the paper being textured like it is, you want to get that glue into all the little nooks and crannies of the embossed image so that it sticks well. Now we're going to go ahead and trim this off. Again, just like we did with the prior one. There we go. And now the card is done and has this beautiful embossed envelope flap. But wait, we're not done. This little piece, this extra piece, I normally just throw this away. But in this case, what we're going to do is I'm going to take my trimmer. I'm going to line it up in here so that this cut edge is right along where my cutting groove is. And I'm going to set it in here. Set it gently. Okay, that might need to be over just a little bit more. And now we're just going to cut that. And now we have this tiny little embossed strip that we're going to put on the inside of the card. Just from that little bit that we had left over. So now I'm going to take this piece of the basic beige that is 4 1/4, no, I'm lying, it's 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to glue it down the side, kind of like what we did with the prior card. So a little bit of our glue. Make sure that you've got the embossed image sticking up. And then hold it up. Look, does it look like it's straight? If not, you've got a little bit of time to wiggle it around. There we go. And now I'm just going to trim off the extra. There we go. Let's stick this to the inside of our card, and then this card is done. Another fairly simple one. Oh, looks like I am, maybe this is why I was having problems with my seal earlier, because it looks like it just ran out. Let me get a refill. Looks like I need to buy myself some more refills. I've only got one more after this. Okay. Hi, Lucy. Can you... Oh, you can't see Lucy's paws in the camera. She just had her feet up on the desk trying to help. She's not much help with anything. Okay. So, now, let's see how... I don't know if you can see this, but because the paper had started to tear and I ran the adhesive along that torn edge, it just continued to tear that edge. So what you want to do in a case like that is start somewhere where it's not torn and then go back the opposite direction, and then it's fine. Put this inside of our card. Get it so it's centered-ish. And we're done with card number 2. You know, Susan, that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about them. I love really ornate cards. I think they're so beautiful. They aren't necessarily my style to make simply because I don't have that type of creativity. My friend Talina makes beautiful cards that take her forever to make because she really takes her time and embellishes them, and she does a beautiful job. I don't have that style of creativity, so I do like kind of quick and simple, but these cards I really focused on trying to keep them quick and simple, and I love how they turned out. Okay, so this one we're going to use the Cheerful Daisies. This is another simple one, and here we go. And this is using the same designer series paper that I showed you at the beginning. Let's see, there's the inside. So let's go ahead and get started. Our card base is standard 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay, now the first step that I'm going to do with this, I always say I'm going to do this first and then I forget, and I'm actually doing it this time, so I'm really, really proud of myself. But this is the vanilla baker's twine that comes in the Essential Baker's Twine pack. It's a 5-pack. It comes with black, white, gray, crumb cake, and then this kind of vanilla color. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my light peach pie Stampin' Blend, and I'm going to color it because that's the color I want it to be. Now, a little trick. In the past, what I've done is I hold it and then I kind of move my pen and go over it. But the problem is the thread moves and it doesn't always get a good image on there. I found that if I hold my pen down and pull the thread, I get a much better coverage. So that's what I'm doing here. Hold my pen down and pull the thread. I do have to go over it a couple times because obviously if the part of the thread that's face down isn't getting as good of coverage of the ink. And I'm just redoing the little sections, the new sections. Now the reason that I wanted to do this first is because it does take a minute or two for it to dry, and I don't want to get the ink all over my hands. So I try to remember to color it at the beginning of my project, and then it's totally dry by the time I'm done, because the Stampin' Blend markers are alcohol-based ink, so alcohol dries so quickly, but you do want to give it just a little bit, a minute or two for it to dry, especially since it's on a fabric, the thread. So if you do it first, then you know it's going to be dry by the time you're done. Or by the time you're ready to put it on your card, I should say. There. So, just like that. And then I'm going to set that aside, let it dry. Now let's go ahead and do the envelope. It's just like the first one. I've got a strip of the designer series paper. I love this print, these colors on this side. I don't know why I didn't use it. Anyway, okay, so we're going to go ahead and put some glue. Woo! Got it on my... Accidentally squeezed some out. I'm going to put some glue right there on the edge of the envelope flap. Get a little closer to the edge over there. 2.5 inches by 6 inches. And then I like to rib it from the inside as well, just to make sure I got it good. And now, oops, looks like it might have been off just a little bit, so I moved it, scooted it. Now I'm going to take my snips. We're going to cut off the excess. Okay. And there we go. I can feel that I got a little extra glue there, so I'm going to have to come back with my glue eraser, my adhesive eraser later. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the inside of the card. For the inside, see, these are both the same size. So I have 2 pieces of basic white. One's for the front, one's for the inside. These are both 4 by 5 1/4. So we'll just take one, and then I have these little strips. One strip that is 3/8 of an inch. It matches the piece that we used on the envelope. And then a strip that is 1/2 an inch. And again, I let them be too long so that I can cut off the extra. Put a little glue on there. Okay, it's still wet, so I can slide it around, make sure that it's centered where I want it to be. Looks like I got a little bit of glue slipping out there, but our glue dries clear, so that's okay. Oops. I pushed it so that it wasn't centered anymore. Okay, so now we're going to just go ahead and glue this down onto our piece that we're going to stick inside the card. I think I'm a little heavy-handed on the glue tonight. The adhesive, it's a really strong adhesive. Once it gets tacky and it's in place, it's really nice liquid glue. It does not require a lot, and I seem to be kind of going a little crazy with it tonight. Okay, so I'm lining it up. I like to have just a little bit of that white edge along the side of the card. Sometimes I'll push this piece all the way to the edge, but I do like to have it offset most of the time. I like the offset of that white over there. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra, just like so. And let's go ahead and glue this into the inside of our card. I have a lot of pieces hanging around over here, and so stuff is getting buried already. Centered-ish. And there you have, the inside is all done. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our card front. I have a piece here. I already told you it's 4 by 5 1/4, and then I have a piece that's just 1/8 of an inch smaller. It is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and we're just going to lay it right down on there. Get it centered-ish. I do like this 1/8 of an inch border. It ends up actually being a 1/16 of an inch because you're centering it. But I do like that. Hang on, I just got this weird little jagged edge on my nail and it's catching on everything. So I gotta fix that. Okay, so now I have this. I am now gonna take, and this is, by the way, this color here is the peach pie. I think that's what it was called, peach pie? Peach pie. So now I have a peach pie strip that is 3 7/8 by 1 inch, and I'm just gonna glue it right there like that. And I'm going to try to get it centered vertically. Now a little trick to getting it centered vertically is if you use our grid paper, you've got these lines that you can measure with. So I need 1/2 of 5 1/2 because the whole side is going to be, oh, I guess it's not 5 1/2, is it? It's 5 1/4. Anyway, I line it up on the grid paper and kind of go from there. There we go. There. centered-ish. Then I'm going to take, got some more pieces here. I've got a piece of the peach pie. This one is 4 inches by 2 1/4. And then this is just 3 7/8 by 2 1/8. And again, just gluing them together. Now again, for this next part, make sure that if you have a directional print like we do in this one, you want to put it on your card going the right direction. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to go ahead and use dimensionals this time. I was debating whether or not to use the dimensionals or the foam adhesive strips again, but I think I'll just use dimensionals. The downside to dimensionals is I like a whole lot of them, and that means taking a whole lot of the backs off. Okay. So now I'm just tearing all those little backs off. And I want to center this horizontally and vertically-ish. There we go. And is that straight? I don't think it is. There we go. That's better. Okay. And then I have these two little pieces. This square is 2 by 2, and this is 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. And the first thing I'm going to do is I am taking my light peach pie Stampin' Blend marker, and then you want to get another pen or something like this. I tried tapping it on my hand earlier, and it just, for whatever reason, doesn't work very well. So what I'm going to do is I want to have a little bit of a splatter on here with the peach, because I just didn't like how stark the white was. So okay, and it just gives a little bit of a splatter on there, gives a little color, which I like. And then I'm going to take the Petunia Pop ink and my sentiment, which is your friendship means everything. Just wanted to test that out real quick. We're going to do this at an angle, and it's kind of up a little bit. It's not quite centered. There, just like that. And now, I'm going to put away the ink pad. Hey, Virginia, welcome. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue this down onto this little square. Just like so. And then just run a little bit of adhesive from corner to corner there, because we're just going to put it on the card. We're going to kind of try to center it. It looks like I stamped it a little crooked, but that's all right. Well, that is funny. I got that very crooked. Oh well, not a problem. Okay, so then we're going to take, this is the ribbon that we, or the twine that we colored, and I'm taking my bow jig. Bow jigs are, you can find them anywhere, probably Amazon, whatever. I bought mine a long time ago from another demonstrator who had a friend who made them. But I wanted a little double bow here, so that's why I'm using it. Whoops, I wanted a little bigger than that. Okay, and now I'm going to tie this. Take the nails out. Okay, now all I have to do now is I just pull the little loops apart. That kind of gives me a little bit more. The other thing is your bow kind of stays in place a little better because it's stiffer because of having colored it. Now, another downside to it being stiffer because you colored it is it kind of looks funky when you glue it down, because you get these really straight looking tails. So what I do is I wrap it around this just a little bit for a moment, and then it's going to come off like that. Some of that curl falls out. It's, you know, remember when we used to get perms back in the day and you got your perm curlier? It was always curlier when you first got it because some of the perm just kind of fell out after a while. Same idea. And I'm just letting it sit for a minute. There. So you can see it's already falling out of that one, but it just gives it a little bit of body. So when we glue it down, they're not going to be just these really straight, awkward looking tails. So pull these up a little bit. This gives a little bit of volume to the bow. And I'm going to take a glue dot. You put your glue dot right in the center of the knot. Then you can peel it right up. The other thing, nice thing about the glue dots is once you get that on there, your bow, your little loops tend to stay in place better. Okay. There. And of course we want to trim this. So trim it right about there and there. See how it's just got a little bit of wave to it, but it's not. You can see I did mine a while ago and they've really straightened out, but they're not as stark, just as really awkward looking before. Then we're going to take, let's go ahead and put this on the card, and then we're going to put a couple of pearls on there and she's going to be done. Line it up. That's so funny how crooked that is, my sentiment. That just makes me laugh. Okay. Okay. See, just like that. But it needs just a little something. So now I've got the iridescent pearl basic jewels. And they come in two sizes. There's the smaller ones and the bigger ones. And I'm using the bigger ones, and I'm just going to put it right here. Almost like it's a little nail holding that in place. There we go. And we put it with our card, with our envelope, and we're good to go. So let me clean up the mess here that I've made, and we'll just take one last look at everything that we made together tonight. If you enjoyed what we did, I would love it if you would give me some likes, some thumbs up, all those good things. Gives me a pat on the back, but it also tells the algorithms on YouTube and Facebook that you liked what you saw, and therefore other people might like it as well, and then they push it out there a little more, and that helps me to hopefully grow my business. Growing my business is how I'm able to continue to provide these videos for free. As many of you know, when you stepped up to help me out to meet my minimum sales so that I could get back into this again a couple months ago, which I so appreciate. Okay, so we've got our first one. Well, actually, it was the last one we did right here. Remember, these were all using the new in colors. Those were the only colors that I used that were not the in colors. Is I used basic white and I used the basic beige. And then we've also got this guy. So those are the three cards that we made using the new in colors, and very little stamping. They were quick, they were easy, but they're sure cute. I love them. I love spending this time of my week with you guys, and I'm so glad when you join me and I start seeing those numbers pop up of how many people are in the room, quote unquote, that come to spend this time, because it really does mean a whole lot to me. I'm glad you're going to be casing these now. Case away. If you want to purchase any of the supplies I used tonight, any of these fabulous in colors, or need to just restock some of your own supplies, I'd love it if I could earn your business. You can go to heathersides.stampinup.net to place your order. And if you do that, I would really appreciate that. And of course, follow me every week here on Wednesday nights. Watch my Facebook page for the reminder that it's coming out. I've had some stuff coming up with work lately, which makes it hard, and I've had to do some last minute cancellations. So do watch the Facebook page for that as well, just because you never know. So Virginia says she loves the middle card. You know what, Virginia, I think it's my favorite too. And it was probably the easiest one to do. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you guys next Wednesday here at Facebook/Stamp Happenings. See you later. Bye-bye.